I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. Coming up in today's newscast, Memorial Day begins in Israel. It looks like things may be heating up between North Korea and the Holy Land, and historians get ready because an ancient landmark is getting a major makeover on the Israeli coast. Stay tuned for the latest news in Israel. Memorial Day begins tonight, followed immediately by Independence Day, and the IDF is preparing by closing the borders to the West Bank and Gaza. ILTV's Aaron Porce joins me with more. Aaron, what does one have to do with the other?
Well, Israeli holidays and very large gatherings that occur in Israel produce many security challenges for the Israeli Defense Forces, and so particularly in terms of terror attacks. So as a preventative measure, closing the checkpoints and any crossings between the West Bank and Gaza is, in their eyes, necessary, with very few exceptions. Let's take a look at my report and I'll tell you more.
The closure began at midnight Sunday morning and will continue until midnight Tuesday at the close of Independence Day. Exceptions for humanitarian aid and the like will of course be made. Memorial Day and Independence Day are both the saddest and happiest days respectively for the country, and are observed on the 4th and 5th days of the Hebrew month Iyar. The large commemoration ceremonies, complete with moments of silence, musical performances, speeches from the bereaved, and a countrywide siren like that on Holocaust Remembrance Day can all be seen. Then, on Independence Day, designed to be the day after to remind the country what the fallen have fought for, is marked by a vacation day from work, concerts, air shows, fireworks, and general celebrations.
Shortly after sundown this evening, the state of Israel will mark the beginning of Memorial Day for the fallen soldiers of Israel and victims of terrorism. Earlier today, top Israeli officials attended the dedication of a new national memorial hall in Jerusalem. President Reuven Rivlin told those gathered that all citizens share in the memory of those who have been lost, and that here in the Jewish state, all personal private grief is shared by the nation. He also promised the parents of fallen soldiers that even after they too have passed away, the memories of their heroic children will be treasured and preserved by all future generations. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu described the new Remembrance Hall as a state symbol dedicated to the bravery and sacrifice made by its citizens. He added that the Jewish people had to endure 2,000 years of exile before the reappearance of the Hebrew fighter, and that after Israel's refounding, Jews renewed their legacy of fiercely defending their homeland. The opening ceremony for Memorial Day takes place at a memorial for bereaved families in Jerusalem this afternoon. The event will be attended by the Prime Minister, Knesset Speaker, and Israel's chief rabbis. After the nationwide sounding of a 1-minute siren at 8 p.m., a candle lighting ceremony in memory of the fallen will be held at the Western Wall Plaza. That will be followed by an event called Songs in Their Memory at the Knesset at 9:15 tonight. Tonight, Memorial Day in Israel begins, where we remember those lost fighting for the nation of Israel. Today, we're honored to welcome Brigadier General Avigdor Kahalani, the legendary commander of the 77th Armored Battalion, who has also received the highest Israeli military decoration, the Medal of Valor. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
All right, so let's begin with the Yom Kippur War. Now, you fought in one of the deadliest wars of this nation's history. The Israeli intelligence wasn't ready, and the IDF was ambushed in a surprising attack by several different Arab countries, both in the north and in the south. The Israeli defense system was in a complete shock. How did you deal with this threat on the spot?
At that time, I was battalion commander, tank battalion commander, and my mission was to block the Syrian in Golan Heights. After 24 hours, we lost more than 2/3 of the Golan Heights. Just a small area that I was located over there, we have success to stop them. And they fought against us for 4 days. The ratio between them and us was like 1 Israeli tank against 10 Syrian tank. And their tank was better tanks than ours. They have a T-62, and the gun, the main gun was 115 millimeter gun. They could shoot 4 kilometer, 5 kilometer, and we had a gun 105 millimeter, And we, that time we shot like 2 kilometers far away, no more than that. It was hard. I lost many of my soldiers, and we, during the war, we found ourselves tried to stop them. They, one situation, they came 150 tanks, and we have around 12 tanks. And you know, in Israel, the secret weapon is the soldier. And the spirit of our soldiers, it's maybe it's the best of the world. And everybody understands that one day he is holding the flag of the country and he should protect the country. This is what we study from the kindergarten, the elementary school, and high school, and all over the way. And this is exactly, this is the weapon, not the tank, the aircraft, and the ship. The weapon is the spirit. And this is the reason that we are here and they are not.
Now, like you said, like many other Israelis, we know that you lost your loved ones during the war, but you didn't necessarily know about it until the last battle. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, I had 2 brothers. One of them, he was in my battalion, and he supported me, and I saw him all the time when we fought. And another brother is Emmanuel, that he, 6 years after me, and he fought like tank commander in Sinai. And he was killed in the night of October. 2 weeks before that, he got married. He was in the middle of honeymoon. And when he was killed, nobody told me about that. Even they told to my brother, the second brother of me, that he was in my battalion. And they told him, go home. And I didn't know. I was commander with my battalion near the Damascus, 35 kilometers far away from Damascus. And when we finished the war after 18 days, my commander, Janusz Ben-Gal, he was the 7th Brigade commander, he called me and he said, go home. I said, what happened? He said, you lost your brother. I asked, which one? And he said, Emmanuel. Many tears was in my eyes, and after that he said, and your wife, she lost her brother. What is his name? I asked, because few brothers, and he said, Ilan. He got married the year before that. For my wife, it was the second brother of her. And yeah, I knew after that. I was lucky because nobody told me before. I believe if he told me at the time that he knew about that, it's, you know, it's difficult to continue to fight. And far away, and we took a lot of risk in the combat. Anyway, this is a Memorial Day for us, and my wife, she's on the way to Jerusalem to be with 2 brothers of her, and I'm going to Ness Ziona to be with my brother.
Now, I want to talk a little bit more about how you plan on honoring these family members of yours, but you know, it stands out to me. You lost somebody who was so close to you. Your wife lost somebody, and this is the case of many, many young people that were, you know, people here are going into the army every day. And what do you say to young people who are scared about what could happen?
I can tell you that in the '67 war, I was badly wounded. I was in the hospital a year. 60% of my body was burned. 12 operations. The main mission for me is to go back to the tank and to change my medical profile, because they moved it down and I couldn't be a commander anymore. I took the paper, I cleaned it up, and I decided to go back to the tanks. And I thought maybe I have just like a post-trauma, and I'm not really know what's going on with that. And Yom Kippur is, we almost lost the country. They came by surprise, the both sides, Egypt and Syria. And 2 o'clock they started the war. You know, the famous picture in '67 was many, many shoes on the dune. It means they ran away from us in '67 and they took off the shoes, the boots, and they ran away. when you see this picture, you realize how it's a big success for us. But our leaders in Yom Kippur War, they remember the shoes on the dune. And they didn't start the mobilization to start to bring the army, the reserve army. We cannot protect Israel without reserve army. And they make the decision just an hour before the war started. Even we had all the sign and we saw everything. But people think, no, we are strong enough, nobody can beat us. And we lost in this war 2,656 soldiers. And this is really was a bad time for all of us. And I can tell you that we changed everything in our country after that. All the habits we change.
Now, Memorial, 60% of the population serves in the armed forces in some capacity. What does Memorial Day mean in Israel, and what does Memorial Day mean to you?
Family that lost a child, they don't need Memorial Day. They have Memorial Day every day. When they go in the living room, they can see the picture. When they open the closet, they can see the shield. We need, all the country, we need the Memorial Day to stop the rotation, to stop and to salute those soldiers. They protect the country. And this is in Israel, I don't know, it's all over the world, but in Israel, it's a day with many, many songs, and everybody can listen to each other. We feel united, and we go to the cemetery, and we cry for our soldiers. And this is a unique day in Israel. It's a day that gives us the feeling that we still have a threat from many, many countries around us. And we use this day to teach the youth how to join the army one day and in their turn to protect the army. Memorial Day is a unique day in Israel.
Well, it's ultimately a show of unity. It's almost like seeing an entire family come together to grieve together, which is something that, having been raised abroad, I never saw the same thing happen when I experienced Memorial Day. So I know that tonight I'm going to be going to Kikar Rabin, one of the most central locations in Tel Aviv, to be hearing the stories of those who were lost and to be, standing in solidarity with their families.
For you, this is the first experience in your life.
Yeah, this will be my second experience, but I'm excited to see how I react this time, because I remember last year when it was my first experience. Wow, the tears, there's so many tears, it's just so much emotion, and it makes you so proud to be part of this community and this family. So we thank you for your service, and we will be standing in solidarity with your lost loved ones too. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas is in Cairo for high-level talks with the Egyptian president, where the two leaders are expected to coordinate their positions on the peace process before Abbas meets with President Trump next week. ILTV's Aaron Porras returns with more. Now, Aaron, what do you think that they're going to be talking about?
Well, I think all the details will obviously be kept semi-close to the vest between Abbas and Sisi. But what we do know is that al-Sisi is a pretty big fan and a proponent of the Arab Peace Initiative that was presented in 2002. And I have just a few excerpts from it. It involves a complete withdrawal from the occupied territories, including everything beyond 1948 border and the Syrian Golan. Establishment of a Palestinian state in the West Bank and Gaza with East Jerusalem as its capital, and in return, the Arab states would supposedly consider the conflict over and sign a peace agreement. Let's go to my report. I'll tell you more.
Let's check out your report.
Trump has made Middle East peacemaking a foreign policy priority, sending his envoy Jason Greenblatt twice to the region to meet with Israeli and Palestinian leaders. After meeting with Greenblatt, Abbas was quoted as saying that a historic peace deal under President Trump is possible. Last week, President Sisi urged the United States to help restart negotiations between Israelis and Palestinians, saying that it's important that the United States returns to play an active role in efforts to resume negotiations between the Palestinians and Israel. He went on to say that Trump agreed that the two-state solution is the only way to bring stability to the region. Sisi went on to suggest that he believes that the 2002 Arab Peace Initiative should serve as a basis for solving the Palestinian-Israeli conflict.
Hamas is furious at the Palestinian Authority for refusing to foot the bill for the electricity that Israel supplies to Gaza. The move could lead to a complete power shutdown in the territory, whose 2 million people already endure blackouts for much of the day. Ramallah announced its decision late last week, and now one spokesman for Gaza's Islamist rulers is threatening that both Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and Israel will regret the action.
ونعتبر أن هذه الخطوة هي جريمة ضد الشعب الفلسطيني وهي تساوق مع الاحتلال، ونحن نحذر بأنه إذا لم يرفع الحصار إما رفع الحصار أو الانفجار، والانفجار سيطال وسيكون بوجه الاحتلال الصهيوني، وسيندم كل من تمالأ مع الاحتلال من السلطة الفلسطينية وغيرها سيندم على هذه الخطوة، وأن حماس تملك خيارات متعددة لأجل الرد على هذه الجريمة، لأننا ندافع عن شعبنا وعن حق شعبنا بالحياة.
The PA's latest move is yet another sign that the faction is hardening relations towards its Hamas rivals, who seized control of the enclave in a bloody 2007 Palestinian civil war. The Western-backed Authority and Hamas are now at a deadlock in their struggle over a unity deal. The PA is trying to pressure Hamas into agreeing to convene new Palestinian elections that could loosen the Islamist group's hold on the Strip. Israel stuck in the middle of the two warring factions since the Jewish state supplies electricity and fuel to Gaza. Jerusalem will only deal with Ramallah on the supply since Hamas is regarded as a terrorist organization. Most of the money Hamas collects in taxes is spent on rebuilding its military infrastructure ahead of the next confrontation with Israel. Desperation among the residents has been rising since the only power plant in Gaza stopped operating 2 weeks ago.
رسالة للسلطة أنها تنظر لقطاع غزة بالمنظور الصحيح، أنه قطاع غزة جزء لا يتجزأ من فلسطين. يعني بوجه رسالة للرئيس محمود عباس أنه ينظر لا هنا في قطاع غزة، أنه إحنا شعبك يا رئيس أبو مازن، وإحنا يعني إحنا جزء من فلسطين يا أبو مازن، ويعني انظر لنا على الأقل بشفقة يعني.
There were some major clashes between Palestinians and Israeli security forces over the weekend in both the West Bank and Jerusalem. The violence came after Palestinian political parties declared a day of rage to demonstrate solidarity with hunger-striking prisoners in Israeli jails. Protesters hurled rocks at passing Israeli cars on a public road near one prison outside of Jerusalem. Soldiers and military jeeps fired stun grenades and tear gas after they also came under attack. A large number of Palestinian youth took to the streets of Bethlehem. They threw rocks at Israeli soldiers stationed by the border fence, who also responded with non-lethal crowd dispersal tactics. No casualties were reported during any of the widespread protests. Women and children gathered outside of the Dome of the Rock Mosque in Jerusalem's Old City, and they chanted Allahu Akbar and other slogans of support while waving some of the prisoners' photographs. The open-ended hunger strike was launched on April 16th by convicted terrorist Marwan Barghouti. The Palestinians say they're striking against poor conditions and the Israeli policy of detention without trial. But Israeli officials believe the move is a politically motivated show of support for Barghouti, who is the main rival of PA President Mahmoud Abbas. Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman is being chastised for heating up tensions between Israel and North Korea. In fact, in an interview with the Walla news agency, Lieberman referred to Kim Jong-un as the madman from North Korea. ILTV's Aaron Porras has more on the story. Aaron, fill us in on this.
Well, let's actually also not forget that Lieberman said North Korea was part of an axis of evil with Iran, Hezbollah, and Syria. So there's a lot going on here. Let's go to my story.
Israeli ministers are questioning Lieberman's comments, saying, quote, "We have nothing to do with North Korea, so why jump up? Don't we have enough enemies?" Former Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon tweeted calling Lieberman the Minister of Talk, saying he was chattering irresponsibly about North Korea, and that there is no prime minister to rein in the babbling and posturing minister. North Korea fired back in a statement reading in part, quote, "Our consistent message is to mercilessly punish those who offend the dignity of our leadership. We warn Israel to think twice about the implications of its defamation campaign against us," end quote.
Turning to a different conflict, Arab media and Syrian opposition forces are reporting that the Israeli Air Force carried out several airstrikes over the weekend near the Syrian border town of Quneitra. Now, Aaron, what is the deal here?
Well, the IDF has a long-standing policy of neither confirming nor denying any of the reports that have anything to do with an ongoing case or an ongoing investigation or something that might harm their future actions.
So let's check out your report.
Let's.
The strikes are believed to have targeted Syrian army forces in the area. However, the Syrian army has denied that any attack took place, and the Israeli army has similarly declined to comment. Throughout the ongoing Syrian civil war, Israel has carried out limited airstrikes to prevent the transfer of advanced weaponry to the Lebanese Shiite terror group Hezbollah, which is currently fighting alongside Assad's embattled forces. Last week, Israel was blamed for the bombing of a Syrian airbase where a Hezbollah weapons cache was located, and again a day later, an Israeli Patriot missile shot down a Syrian drone that had entered into Israeli airspace.
Without a doubt, the most iconic photograph of the Six-Day War is the one of 3 Israeli paratroopers standing in awe of the recaptured Western Wall. Now, just ahead of the 50th anniversary commemorations of the 1967 Battle for Jerusalem, the trio have returned to the site to remember the momentous occasion. Zion Karasenti, Chaim Oshri, and Dr. Itzik Yifat are now in their 70s. They say that they had no idea that their image would one day come to serve as a symbol of the nation, fulfilling a 2,000-year dream. The 3 former soldiers say they weren't even sure they'd really found the Western Wall since they'd never seen it before. Most Israelis had never been to the holiest site in Judaism since it had been captured by Jordan in 1948. During the war, the Israeli troops survived 48 straight hours of fighting by the time they made it into the Old City. Even as they stood before the wall with tears in their eyes, it was still in the heat of battle with enemy forces all around. Sadly, the legendary photographer who preserved the moment forever, David Rubinger, passed away last month. Israeli archaeologists have begun work to restore a once towering ancient Roman temple in the modern-day Mediterranean city of Caesarea. Scores of workers have erected scaffolding, cleared rubble, and begun excavations around the more than 2,000-year-old ruins. The ancient city was once a vibrant Roman metropolis. It was built in honor of Emperor Augustus Caesar by King Herod, who ruled Judea from 37 years before the Common Era. Historians say the temple loomed so far above the skyline, it might have just been as tall as the Acropolis in Athens.
This is a real outstanding structure. It could be seen from distance. From distance, ships that were aimed to reach the shores of the Holy Land here could see this structure from distance, as I said, and the building was magnificent.
The first phase of restoring arches on the temple platform could be completed by the end of the year. It's all part of a $27 million project aimed at tripling the number of visitors. The Israeli Antiquities Authority is hoping Caesarea will become such a major attraction that it will be second only to Jerusalem. Today, about 1 million tourists a year come to climb around this site, which features aqueducts and the region's oldest surviving Roman theater.
The whole experience of the visitor would be completely different. You'll be able to sense the atmosphere and actually to understand the essence of the building. This is something that you don't get at any other archaeological site today.
The dig has already unearthed several unexpected treasures. One spectacular find is a small mother-of-pearl tablet engraved with the Jewish menorah.
IDC Summer Ulpan, open for everyone.
And now for our Hebrew word of the day. Beginning tonight, there will be ceremonies all over the Jewish state and in Jewish communities across the world in memory of those who gave their lives to protect us. So today's word is tekes, meaning ceremony. A tekes can be anything from the commemoration services like those we'll have tonight for Remembrance Day to organized rituals like a graduation or a movie award tekes. Happy or sad, there are lots of reasons to hold tekesim or ceremonies, but today we're going to focus on just one: fallen soldiers. So I ask that you'll join me now in honoring the brave men and women who protect the Jewish state of Israel with a short moment of silence. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight should be partly cloudy and warm with a low of 61 or 16 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow you can get ready for the beach because the weather is expected to be unseasonably warm and dry with a high of 84 or 29 degrees Celsius. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.62 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at ILTV.tv. I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and thanks for watching.